Once upon a time, there was a successful businessman named Arjun Thapa. Arjun had everything: a thriving business, immense wealth, a loving wife, and a young daughter. But behind this perfect image, Arjun was entangled in a secret love affair. His lover was Upasna Pathak, a talented and beautiful photographer. Their relationship was emotional but forbidden, hidden from the public eye and their families. One cold winter's day, Arjun and Upasna planned to meet at a distant hilltop hotel. As they drove back home, the treacherous and fog-covered forest roads added to the tension. They argued about the future of their relationship, their voices rising over the hum of the engine. As their heated argument about the future of their relationship reached a boiling point, Arjun's attention wavered. In that split second, a car suddenly appeared from the edge of the cliff, barreling toward them. The collision was unavoidable and violent. When Arjun and Upasna slowly came to their senses, the horrific reality hit them. The driver of the other car, a young man named Amshu Gimira, lay lifeless. Panic surged through them like a tidal wave. Arjun, desperate to protect his reputation and their future, made a snap decision. With trembling hands, they dragged Amshu's body to the trunk of his car. Under the cover of night, Arjun rolled the car to the edge of a desolate lake and watched as it plunged into the dark, icy waters, hoping the cold depths would bury their secret forever. As Arjun struggled to push Amshu's car into the murky depths of the lake, his own car suddenly sputtered and died, leaving Upasna Pathak stranded and alone in the eerie stillness of the night. Frantically, she twisted the key in the ignition, but the engine refused to roar back to life. Panic seized her as she noticed another vehicle approaching from the distance, its headlights cutting through the darkness. The car pulled up beside her, and out stepped a middle-aged man with a rugged yet kind demeanor, Sharad Budathoki. He saw her distress and immediately offered his assistance with a reassuring smile. Arjun, oblivious to the unfolding drama, was still struggling with Amshu's car, determined to sink it and erase their crime. Desperate and with no other option, Upasna accepted Sharad's offer, her heart pounding as he locked her broken-down car to his and towed it back to his home, a secluded house on the outskirts of town. Upasna arrives at the Sharad's family's humble home, her heart heavy with tension. After a brief pause, she was greeted by Nehru Duwadi, wife of Sharad. Mistaking Laura for a concerned visitor, Nehru invites her inside, grateful for the company. The inside of the house was cozy, yet something felt off. As she stepped into the warm, inviting living room, the home is steeped in a palpable, quiet sorrow. Each wall a silent witness to the life that once was. Upasna's eyes traced the path of memories etched in every photograph. The photograph of Sharad's family. Sharad with his little son. She noticed that she saw his son somewhere. As they sit together, the conversation flows into casual gossip, and the woman begins speaking fondly of her son. With a proud smile, she reaches for a photo, handing it to Upasna. But as Upasna's eyes fall upon the picture, her breath catches in her throat. The blood drains from her face as the realization crashes over her. This isn't just any photo, it's Amshu, the young man who had just died in the accident she was involved in moments ago. The world around her seems to spin as the horrifying truth sinks in. Amshu was the son of Sharad and Nehru, the very couple who had been so kindly helping her with the car, unaware that she was the one who had taken their son from them. As Sharad was working to repair the Upasna's car, he saw a lighter at car's dashboard. She stiffens, trying to mask her unease when Nehru called his son, because Upasna knows phone will not receive because he is dead. Feeling the weight of the moment, Upasna expresses her gratitude to Nehru and Sharad for their generous hospitality, though her heart feels heavier with each word. As she steps out of the house, the warmth of Sharad's family and the haunting images on the walls linger in her thoughts. Driving away, Upasna is consumed by a gnawing sense that this visit has only intensified her guilt, leaving her more tormented by the aftermath of that fateful night. Arjun and Upasna never met again after that day. The weight of their secret shattered what they once had. Their lives moved forward, but the memories stayed buried deep within. Sharad and Nehru began desperately searching for their son Amshu, scouring the roadsides and forests. The hope in their hearts dimmed with each passing hour, but they refused to give up, driven by a parent's undying love. Arjun immersed himself in handling his business and corporate affairs, using work as a distraction from the haunting memories. The demands of his empire kept him occupied, but nothing could silence the guilt that gnawed at him beneath the surface. But one day, the police arrived at Arjun's office with unsettling news. On the day Amshu went missing, Arjun's car was caught on a roadside CCTV camera, the number plate clearly visible. The past he tried to bury had just resurfaced, sending a chill down his spine. But Arjun was too rich and powerful. He swiftly bribed the police, and they erased every piece of evidence. Just like that, the truth vanished, buried beneath his wealth. Sharad and Neeru were left helpless, crushed by the lack of support from the police. Every door they knocked on was closed, and hope began to fade as their search grew more desperate. Neeru Duwadi, overwhelmed by the tragedy of her missing son, fell gravely ill. The weight of her grief pushed her into major depressive disorder, eventually leading to her being admitted to the hospital. The light in her eyes dimmed as the pain consumed her. To know about major depression, its symptoms and treatment, watch our video on our channel. But still, Sharad refused to lose hope. Determined, he attended a public function where Arjun was the guest of honor. After the event, he managed to approach Arjun, who greeted him with a practiced smile, pretending to be unaware of the tragedy. They exchanged a few polite words, but as Sharad asked for a lighter to light his cigarette, something shifted. When Arjun handed him the lighter, Sharad's heart nearly stopped. He recognized it instantly. This was the same lighter he had seen in Upasna's car that fateful night. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. In that moment, Sharad knew with chilling certainty that Arjun and Upasna were involved in Amshu's disappearance, perhaps even responsible for his death. The mask of ignorance on Arjun's face only deepened Sharad's resolve, and a quiet storm of vengeance began to brew within him. In another scene, Upasna Pathak was overwhelmed by anxiety and guilt over their actions. Fear of the police consumed her, leaving her lost and unsure of how to escape the shadow of her crime. She was diagnosed with anxiety disorder. To know about anxiety disorder, watch the video about anxiety in our channel. Sharad was at a loss on how to seek justice for his son's death when he received a call from someone claiming to have witnessed the accident. The caller offered a crucial tip that could lead Sharad to the truth and help him find justice. An unknown caller sent him some picture of that lake where he pushed the car. Sharad adopted a new identity and named him Prashant Gimir and did paperwork accordingly and closely followed Arjun, covering that Upasna was his secret lover hidden from his wife. Using this information, Sharad blackmailed Arjun and sent an audio and photographs revealing he had witnessed the accident and knew about their affair. He threatened to expose both the accident and Arjun's extramarital relationship unless his demands were met. Sharad demanded a huge amount of money from Arjun, using the threat of exposing both the accident and the affair as leverage. The stakes were high, and Arjun knew he was trapped, forced to choose between his wealth and the dark secrets he had fought so hard to bury. Sharad ordered both Upasna and Arjun to meet him at a hotel far from the city. The isolated location heightened their fear, as they realized the walls were closing in on them, with no way out of the trap Sharad had set. Arjun and Upasna reluctantly went to the hotel as Sharad had instructed, tension thick in the air. They knew this meeting could change everything, but they had no choice but to face the consequences of their actions. Something terrible happened at the hotel. Arjun was suddenly struck from behind and fainted. When he regained consciousness, he was horrified to find Upasna lying lifeless on the floor, blood pooling around her. The money they had brought was scattered everywhere around her body, turning the room into a grim scene of betrayal and violence. At that moment, the police arrived and knocked on the door. When there was no response, they broke it down and stormed inside. Seeing the horrific scene, they immediately arrested Arjun, accusing him of murdering Upasna. The trap had been perfectly set, and now Arjun was caught in it, with no way to prove his innocence. Now entered Kanti Paudal, a renowned and highly respected lawyer, known throughout Nepal for her unmatched legal prowess. As Arjun Thapa's trusted attorney, Kanti was determined to unravel the truth and defend him against the serious charges of murder, aware that this case would test her skills like never before. Kanti Paudal had an impressive track record, having worked as a lawyer for various high-profile politicians in Nepal. Known for her sharp mind and relentless determination, she had never lost a case. Now she was ready to bring that same expertise to defend Arjun, confident that she could turn the tide in his favor. Kanti Paodel knocked firmly on Arjun's room door, and he opened it immediately, his face pale with worry. Without wasting a moment, she introduced herself. "I'm your lawyer, Kanti Pudel." Arjun, recognizing the name, quickly welcomed her inside, a glimmer of hope returning to his eyes. As Kanti entered the room, the television was on, broadcasting the latest news about Arjun's case. She paused for a moment, watching intently as reporters speculated about the details. The intensity of the situation was clear, but Kanti remained calm, absorbing the information before turning back to Arjun, ready to strategize his defense. Kanti turned to Arjun, her expression serious. "If you want to win this case, you must tell me everything, every detail from top to bottom. Don't lie to me. I need to know the full truth so I can erase every piece of evidence against you and prepare you for what to say in court." Her tone was firm, making it clear that this was the only way to secure his freedom. Arjun, realizing the gravity of the situation, went through everything in detail, recounting each event from the beginning: the affair with Upasna, the tragic accident, the cover-up, and finally, the events at the hotel. He left nothing out, knowing that Kanti needed the full story to craft a defense that could save him from the dire consequences he now faced. Arjun also pointed to a spot on a map, marking the exact location where he had dumped the car with Amshu's body in the lake. The weight of his actions was palpable as he handed the map to Kanti, fully aware that this secret could either save him or seal his fate, depending on how she chose to use it. In a final heavy confession, Arjun admitted to Kanti that he had killed Upasna. He revealed that he discovered she was the one who had tipped off Sharad and helped him blackmail him. Consumed by rage and betrayal, Arjun had lashed out, ending her life in a desperate attempt to silence her. As he spoke, the weight of his actions hung in the air, making clear the full extent of the darkness he had descended into. Kanti was stunned, amazed at the depths of Arjun's actions. She had dealt with many cases, but hearing his confession, she realized Arjun was a man capable of ruthless choices, driven by desperation. This case would challenge her like no other. Kanti stood up, her resolve firm. As she left the room, she told Arjun, "I will win this case, no matter what." Her words were both a promise and a warning as she walked out, fully aware of the battle that lay ahead. And Kanti left to somewhere she seemed sad after knowing the story. After Kanti left, someone knocked on the door and asked, "Is this Arjun Thapa's room?" When Arjun opened the door, the person identified herself. "I am Kanti Paodel." Arjun was stunned, his heart racing as he tried to understand how she could be back so soon, adding to his mounting anxiety. Arjun's mind raced as the truth hit him with full force. The lawyer he had confided in earlier, the one who had so calmly taken his confession and promised to win his case at any cost, wasn't Kanti Paodel at all. It was Neeru Duwadi, Amshu's mother, driven by grief and vengeance. She had orchestrated an elaborate plan, disguising herself with a mask that made her look like the famous lawyer Kanti Paodel. All along, she had been playing him, gaining his trust, and gathering every piece of incriminating information she could use against him. As the real Kanti Paodel stood before him, Arjun's world began to crumble. He realized that Neeru had outsmarted him in a way he never expected. She had heard his full confession, his darkest secrets, and had left him with no escape. The real Kanti, unaware of what had just transpired, now faced a client who was more trapped than ever, with his enemies closer than he could have imagined. The weight of his actions, the betrayal by Upasna, the murder, and now this deception, all pressed down on Arjun. He had been outmaneuvered at every turn, and the walls were closing in fast. Neeru Duwadi had set a trap that he had walked right into, and there was no way out. As the reality of his situation fully sank in, Arjun knew there was little hope left. The once powerful businessman, who had thought he could control everything, was now at the mercy of a mother's relentless quest for justice. The true Kanti Paodel, now understanding the depth of the situation, was faced with the near impossible task of defending a man who had already condemned himself in the eyes of the law and in the heart of a grieving mother. The movie ends with Arjun being led away by the police, his empire and life shattered, while Neeru watches from a distance, a quiet satisfaction in her eyes. She had avenged her son in a way that no court could, by making Arjun destroy himself. The final shot lingers on Kanti Paodel, now fully aware of the battle she faces, determined to do her duty, even if it means defending a man who had already lost everything. The story concludes with a haunting reminder that justice, in the end, comes in many forms. And sometimes, the most powerful vengeance is one that forces a person to confront the darkest parts of their own soul.